I always really respected Charlie. He was someone I watched and admired growing up, and then suddenly I got the chance to sort of...
Then knocks me out.
Yeah.
Knocks me out the England team. Thanks, mate.
You have got great understanding of what it is like to be given that 10 shirt and to try and control the hype, the emotion, the national expectation, a journey to a Rugby World Cup.
Finn was the one that was in charge of that shirt, and in theory should still be in charge of the shirt because he's gone on the Lions tour, for God's sake.
So it's this weird paradox of being selected at George, going on a Lions trip, and then suddenly coming back being behind George.
If you ask Owen, he's never going to give up that dream of playing for England.
No.
He's not that sort of personality and character to lie down. Johnny's fault, that's what it is. Just blame Johnny, guys.
Yeah. You got that tattooed somewhere, by the way. Just blame Johnny.
Alex Payne trying to keep the side going forward. Haskell takes it on now with just relentless chat. And there's Tindall to add the finishing touch of glamour and World Cup winning stories. A dominant display by the good, the bad and the rugby.
Hello Dream Team, I hope you are well. The first big peak of the season is fast arriving with the Autumn Nations series now on the horizon. And on Sunday evening, England announced a squad with two big headlines. First of all, no Tom Willis, following the news that he is returning to France, and the inclusion of 6'5", 19-year-old winger, try-scoring sensation Noah Caluorie. England certainly have incredible depth in certain positions, fly half being one of them. And one question immediately stands out. Who will wear the England number 10 jersey this autumn? It is a question England fans have long debated, and I think long loved debating. From Andrew V. Barnes through Wilkinson and his challengers, we have the Cipriani debate, we have Farrell and Ford, and we have Farrell or Ford. And now, Ford, Marcus Smith, Finn Smith, and still Owen Farrell. Where, why and how will Steve Borthwick make his decision, perhaps the biggest of his England tenure, given we're now just 2 years away from the next World Cup? We will try and answer that question today with two men who know all about the washing machine of fly-half selection. If you haven't already, please make sure you are subscribed wherever you watch or listen to your podcasts. And first of all, thank you as always to our sponsors, Continental Tyres. Continental Tyres are the official tyre partner to England Rugby. Engineered for victory, their award-winning tyres are built to perform, no matter the conditions. A quick bit of housekeeping. No Hask and no Tins, who are both away this week. They will be back next time around. And if you do want to see us in the flesh, we'll be on tour this time next week. The Lock-In Live is hitting these cities and towns. Warwick on the 29th, Birmingham on the Thursday the 30th. We have a big Friday night in Cardiff on the 31st. We'll be in Oxford on Sunday the 2nd of November, Reading on the 3rd and Guildford on the 5th. Details of how to order tickets are on screen and in the episode description box. Joining us in studio, Charlie Hodgson, capped 38 times for England, scorer of a record 44 points on his England debut in 2001, a 2003 Grand Slam winner. He's the all-time Premiership point scorer and a 3-time Prem winner with Sale and Sarries. And also on board this week, Toby Flood, a 3-time Prem champion with the Tigers, 60 England caps to his name, including starting all 5 matches during England's 2011 Six Nations title win. Welcome to both of you. It's nice to have the brains trust in this week relative to what we normally serve up. How are you, Charlie, first of all? How's life? Looking well?
Good, yeah, all right, thank you.
Keeps you busy?
It's been a bit topsy-turvy, I think, over the last few years, but I think I've finally reached peace with it all, and I've reconnected with the game, actually, so I've just come back in. I've always enjoyed the coaching and mentoring side, but I'm focusing more on the mindset and mental skills needed for the younger generation that are coming through.
Okay.
There's so much pressure that they put on themselves nowadays because of the pull of academies and all that sort of stuff, that actually I kind of see it as a little bit of protection for these kids coming through. They probably need more help than they think.
Okay.
Parents need a little bit more help than they think. So,
do you work with presenters as well as rugby players? A few stresses and strains I need to get rid of.
Probably a few, yeah.
Have you set this up on yourself? Give it a plug. What is?
Yeah, it's called
business?
It's called Rugby Buddy.
Yeah.
And it's in its infancy, to be honest. It's probably 8 weeks old, really. And it's a mixture of online course, online mentoring. Just helping lads with their challenges. It's boys at the moment. If girls get involved, then great. But at the moment, it's just boys. It's a group focused, and it's helping them with their challenges that they've got, from managing comparison on social media to seeing someone else's highlight reels to getting injured and feeling like you're getting left behind to dealing with setbacks and mistakes and all those things that they go through, but from a younger age. And I think from my experience as a player, I don't think I was necessarily very good at dealing with it in my early stages of my career, and it took a lot of learning and working things out. So I'm just trying to attack it a little bit early and protect these kids who are on pathways now and might end up becoming professionals. Whether they do or not is not down to me, but I'm just trying to help them as much as I can.
What a very good idea. What's the website?
www.rugby-buddy.com.
Very good. We might come back to a bit of that as we develop the course of this show. How are you? You've come, you're sodden because you've been on a line bike, so how might you have fallen?
I thought I'd be very northern and try and cycle across London, but it was good. It was a bit drenched, but good.
What's keeping you busy?
So I work for a cybersecurity firm called Okta.
Wow.
Who, it's busy. It's we're sort of a multi-billion and listed, all that sort of stuff. So it's back into the sort of suit and corporate life, but it's good. It's really clever kit, and we help quite a lot of businesses out trying to stop ransomware from hitting them and breaking. So it's good.
Amazing how life moves pretty fast, isn't it?
Yeah.
We had Mike Brown and Johnny May on, I think 2 weeks ago, and I said to both of them, I said, what was your relationship like when you were playing? Expecting, oh, great, it was great, and we were symbiotic. And Mike basically went, playing with him was a fucking nightmare.
Brownie like anybody.
Yeah, well, there you go. That might well be true. And I think Johnny was a bit like stuck in the headlights.
Imagine being Mike Brown's best man. You'd be so surprised.
Yeah.
You actually like me?
But when the two of you get back together now, is it like sort of circling like sort of alphas, or is there a bit great to see you again? And you played against each other or with each other a lot. How do you remember you two in your boots?
I actually don't have grudges like that at all. I don't hold grudges like that. I'm at peace with my career, and there are things I could have done differently, definitely. But I'm quite happy with it, and I don't feel the need to still hold a grudge against somebody that Flood's Floody, isn't he? He's like he's
yeah. I think you almost like a bad analogy. You put the sort of sword and shield down a bit, don't you? You'd be like, it's just done. And then, I always really respected Charlie. Like, he was someone I watched and admired growing up, and then suddenly I got the chance to sort of have a game against him and realised that, geez, he's miles ahead I am. I've got to work really hard to catch him up and stuff. And then you get to
me out.
Yeah.
It's about the England team. Thanks, mate.
Sorry about that. Yeah. But that's what inspires you, right? So you suddenly realise he's miles ahead of you. Then next time you play, maybe 12 months time, 2 years time, you realise you're a bit closer, and there's a chance you could try and get. And then it suddenly becomes, okay, well, what can I do? And to Charlie's point about what he's doing, which is pretty important, is I think kids get that pressure on quite early, don't they? You've got to be X, but actually it's that journey. You get injured, you have an issue, you don't get picked. All that stuff is something that we probably dealt with individually. Really, no one really talked about it. Whereas to Charlie's point now, where there is probably more communication around it, and actually you would have that ability to share that thought and bits and pieces with you.
So if I cleared your mind and I said to you, Charlie Hodgson, would you think you in a Leicester shirt, him in a Sarri shirt, playing against him, or would you think
I try not to?
Right, or would you think training with him, alongside him, learning from him, bouncing ideas off in England?
The latter, yeah.
Would you?
Yeah, I knew Charlie when he was at Sale and stuff. I try not to think about his Saracens days because they sort of they beat us. All right. They were all right. But so more Charlie, sort of watching him. I think the intimacy of it, when you get to sit and watch someone kick and play and pass and learn almost hands-on, that for me was hugely important. And obviously I got that with Johnny for Newcastle, which was hugely important in terms of my development, like to Matt Burke, Jamie Noon. But then when you see other people who you don't know very well, that ability to sort of pick their brains, learn from them, understand what they're doing, etc., is so important.
Same for you?
Yeah, I think that's really important, that which is hard to do when you join the England squad, especially, is that to put your ego to one side and just go, actually, I'm surrounded by unbelievable players here, and I just need to just try and learn from people as much as possible. And I've certainly been in squads where it's just you don't feel safe is the wrong word, but you feel like it's always a competition. There's always an edge between somebody, and for me it kind of goes against what you're ultimately trying to achieve as one group. But if you can get that bit right, which I think teams are starting to see, certainly international teams are starting to do, because they're together for much longer periods of time. Yeah, you create friendships and bonds and with people that actually goes much deeper than just me v you. Yeah, and I think the better that is, the more successful those teams are.
I was very fortunate in that I was at Sky when both of you were absolutely in your pomp, and I remember. And we're talking about sort of England fly half debate. I remember Barnsley was an enormous fan of yours and loved the way you play. And I think he probably compared how you played relative to Johnny, who was perhaps a bit more Rob Andrew. But it's very interesting when you say, I'm now at peace with my career. Was that a process? Were you always at peace? Because I've got a quote here from you saying, unfortunately, England was never one of those environments that I felt comfortable in. I always felt on edge. I never felt like I could really deliver my best. And that's down to pressure. Obviously, but at club level, you won with Sale, you won with Saracens. Was the making peace with your career a process, or did you just put your boots away when the time came and said...
It's been a long process.
Has it?
Yeah. I'm 9 years, nearly 10 years retired, so it's taken me a long time to to accept that I suppose biggest thing is I don't play rugby anymore, and that's the biggest thing. But in terms of the international side, I could dwell on that and reflect on that a lot. Things that I could have done, things that should have happened differently, environments that I was in. Like you could review it over and over and over again, and I think it'd be detrimental to my own mental health if I was going to do that. So I'm quite happy with it. As I say, there are things I could have done differently, but I can't change it. So I just have to be at peace with it.
It's all part of life, isn't it? Same with you. Did you find it easy to click delete when the time came, or did you have to go through that? Because you ended up at Cambridge, didn't you?
Yeah, so I did
still doing bits and bobs.
I did my executive MBA up there, which was great, and that sort of helped that transition a little bit. I played rugby at Cambridge, and sadly ended my career. Right, I was on for the second varsity, and I got hit in a ruck, and my ankle shattered, and my tib fib went and everything. So almost, it sounds like a silly thing to say, but I was 4 games away from what would have been a lovely ending. Yes, we won the varsity, which was great, and the boys did incredibly well, but pacing down the sideline was slightly frustrating. But I think it was almost like ended. There was no what coulda, shoulda, woulda. Right, yeah. My career finished at Newcastle, and then I went and did some rugby stuff there, which I loved, and it was weird. It almost bookended it for me, because we all play junior rugby. We start in the amateur ranks, all that sort of stuff, and actually then I kind of finished in it as well, and it made me realise how important rugby was to just the whole university, but also the boys in the sense that, and girls, because they're there for the love of it. Right, and that is fantastic. They just turn up on a Wednesday night and they train, they laugh, they have some food afterwards, they go into town, and it was just so back to what I remember rugby being when I was 18, 19, rather than what it became when you were 23, 24, when it was pressurised and all the heat and all that sort of stuff. I think it was quite a nice ending. Career, injury aside, it was a great thing to do.
Came back to where it once was. You've got Hodgson Min coming through as well, Junior Hodgson.
Yeah, at the moment.
Is it, yeah. Says with weary shoulders. Is that how? That can't be hours in the car now. Is he getting himself about, or is he?
No, he's not driving yet. He's learning. He's
right.
Test
Okay.
coming up.
So you have got hours in the car. Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's at Saris.
Yeah, he's part of the Saris pathway. Yeah. He's in the under-18 squad at the moment.
Does he listen to Dad, or does he? I was remember Michael Liner saying that I think it was Tom went kicking with. I think it might have been Paul Burke or something like that, and came back and said, Paul Burke's a really good goal kicker. He's really... Michael's like, yeah, no, I can just about accept that. Is your boy listening to what you could tell him?
He does now. For years and years, I coached his junior rugby team before he went off to school in sixth form. And so for many years, the Sunday car journey afterwards was hard work, because he felt like I was always harder on him than anybody else.
Right.
Were you?
Yeah.
Trauma is hard to get rid of.
You can't afford to not be when you're coaching.
Yeah.
And the kids around you sense it as well, don't they? If you're too nice to your boy.
He's like, and he's screaming at me in sessions, like, you can't speak to me like that.
Yeah.
Just because I'm your dad.
Yeah.
But then, as he's got older, like he does listen, and he's more aware, and he just wants to take on what he can.
Yeah.
But it's his journey. Like I want him to forge that journey himself wherever it takes him. I want him to enjoy rugby wherever it takes him, and not to feel like he's got pressure from Dad because I did it.
Yeah.
Like if it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, it doesn't. But it's up to him to push himself.
Okay. This is obviously a show all about rivalries, particularly around that England 10 shirt, but we're going to dust off the rivalry of yesteryear, and we're going to do our Continental Tyres grip strength challenge that the two of them are absolutely terrified about, because lurking at the bottom is a very pitiful 54.1 kgs. Is it going to fall today? We shall see. Which of our guests this season will have the strongest grip? Johnny May, currently at the top of the leaderboard with 73.9 kilos. Peter O'Mahony in the silver medal spot with 73. And Big Faz went in last week, third with 68.4 and above Hask, which didn't go down well.
Do you need big hands for this?
Well, you tell me, Charlie. I mean, this is your forte, not mine. So if you could pass that around to Toby, you get one go and one go only. You have to be sitting down. You've just got to be as strong as you can.
Okay.
Go big. Go. Oh, he's gone big. That's more.
Oh, I'm ahead of him. That's all I care about. No, I'm not.
Come on. Good flex still.
Oh, just though.
What's it gone in at?
55.
Oh!
It's good, that, isn't it?
That's unbearable. The pressure falls to Charlie Hodgson. We need a couple more of these. Right. You can stick your name on there. Well done, Floody. You've escaped the ignominy.
I have. Just do enough.
One of the most talented players of his generation, a man who could thread the eye of a needle. This is the moment that Payno has been waiting for.
Looked all right. Looked good.
56-6.
Yes. Strong voice. Very strong pair.
I am so... Which rugby player out there could we get on who I might beat? Who would be the worst
by any looks
potential?
thing, any ex-fly off?
I thought of him with a chance today. Charlie Hodgson goes in above Toby Flood. Well played.
And rightly so.
Still at the bottom of the pile, which is a great disappointment to yours truly, but a relief to the game of rugby union. Remember, premium tyres don't just improve performance, they provide better safety, control and stopping power compared to budget tyres. And you can learn more about Continental tyres at continental-tyres.co.uk. Charlie Hodgson has put his name in there at 56.6, and the relief is palpable.
Strong.
Let's get into the bulk of the show. It's very nice to have you here. The England squad has been released. I'm sure you've heard it by now, but to fly through the names. Up front, Ellis Genge, Finn Baxter, Bevan Rodd. The hookers, Luke Cowan, Dickey, Jamie George, Theo Dan. The tight heads, Will Stewart, Joe Hayes, Asher Opoku, Fajour. In the second row, Ollie Chesson, Maritoji, Alex Coles, Nick Ezekwe. The back row, Chandler Cunningham-South, who now has picked up an injury this weekend, so we'll wait and see on his potential attendance. Ben Earl, Emeka Iloni, who's interestingly in there, probably at the expense of Tom Willis, who, as we've mentioned, has gone to Bordeaux. Guy Pepper, Henry Pollock, Sam Underhill. What a battle for the 7 shirt. In the backs, Mitchell Spencer, Rafi Quirk at 9. Ford, Finn Smith, Marcus Smith at 10, which we're going to focus on. Fraser Dingwall, Max Ajomo, Ollie Lawrence and Henry Slade in the centres. No Seb Atkinson, who obviously went to Argentina, or Owen Farrell. And in the back three, lots of them with some serious firepower. Henry Arundel, Emmanuel Faye-Waboso, Tommy Freeman, Caden Murley, Adam Radwan, Tom Roebuck, Freddie Stewart, Noah Caluorie. Welcome to you as a development player. And no Tom Curry, Elliot Daly, and Jack Van Portfleet, who are rehabbing. Plenty of names also not considered for selection because of perhaps little game time and injury as well, but we won't go through all of those. Noah Caluorie, first of all. Tell us about the hottest property English rugby right now without having to sort of labour on the hyperbole. Hell of a way to make your name with 5 tries against Sale in the Charlie Hodgson derby.
It's mad, really, isn't it?
What do you know of him prior to, obviously, what he's done this weekend? Has he got sort of it, and everyone's saying the kid is coming and coming fast, or has he come a long way in a short space of time?
You mentioned before, my son, he went to Mill Hill School last year. Noah was at Mill Hill, so they had a season together.
Ah, okay.
And so having watched a few of the games, the interesting thing was that he could... If the team was in trouble, they just give the ball to Noah, and Noah seemed to fix things.
Right. Which actually a very useful asset for the back three.
Very useful when you're at schoolboy level and you're like, we could do with getting out of trouble here. And Noah somehow would just create something, do something, run around people, run through people. But the most noticeable thing last year, even, and obviously what you're seeing now, is his ability in the air.
Yeah.
It was ridiculous looking at a schoolboy going, you shouldn't be able to do this right now. And so it's fascinating to see how quickly that journey has taken him from schoolboy straight into Premiership. It's interesting talking to Joe Shaw about it at Sarries only recently, and Joe was saying he is perhaps one of the best aerially that we've seen in the Premiership for a very, very long time.
I think of someone to compare him to. Aerially.
Who would you look at that? I mean, you look at somebody like, go back all those years to like Lottie Takiri, Wendell Saylor, those guys who were...
Sui Lee at the moment for the Wallabies.
Yeah.
Yeah, I played with Lottie. He was pretty sensational. Matt Burt was... I think it comes from that Aussie rule stuff a little bit. They sort of get that crossover, but
it's mad.
His age is...
Yeah. I think defensively he has a lot to learn.
Yeah.
But when you throw in his attacking ability and his aerial skills, I think at the moment it kind of outweighs those things.
Do you like the fact they've stuck him in? Have a little look at him. Development, not too much pressure, see how you get on?
Yeah, I think it's quite nice to put it in that bracket, right? You go and have a look at him, see how he fits into the environment, see what he's about. It's pretty incredible. He's gone from playing school to suddenly being in that team. But, we've seen likes of Matt Tate do the similar sort of thing, right? And, I think as long as he's managed and put to a decent position, then I don't see there's any issue at all. And I think without something, when you're on the edge there a little bit, although the game's changed dramatically, you're going to get a lot of touches in terms of the aerial battle. That's the one thing people get concerned about. But if he's that aerially capable, then actually he sort of fits into the England setup pretty quickly anyway.
Yeah. What do you think of the squad? Are you quite excited about this now? Obviously, amazing how things change, because this time last year, it was a tough old autumn and suddenly the Six Nations catches fire a bit. Argentina, they start to look really good. When you look at that squad now, do you think there is something quite exciting, beginning to build ahead of Rugby World Cup Australia 2027? Or do you think there's still some big old questions that need some answers?
It's fairly strong, right? You look at the sort of front row and even up to the tight five, they're pretty well organised. They've got people you would expect to be in there. Where I think there's some changeover is that sort of continuity of probably outside backs a little bit, where that's going to happen. And also, I guess what we're talking about here today is to have a conversation around that 10, that sort of 9-10 axis, which is so important when it comes to test match rugby. So I think the squad excites you in terms of the firepower you've got on the outside and people that even are on the sort of the not considered for selection. There's a huge amount of players there. You look at, I think actually they can be, a huge difference.
Do you know, it's interesting, given you've mentioned them, I said we wouldn't mention those not considered for selection, but why don't we? Seb Atkinson, Arthur Clarke, Ben Curry, Alex Donbrandt, Charlie Eales, George Furbank, Ted Hill, Curtis Langdon, George Martin, Will Muir, Harry Randall, Ollie Slightholme. That's when you actually add that to what is already there, that does highlight your point just around the extraordinary strength and depth at the moment. Do you like what you're seeing from it? Did you watch any of the games in Argentina? Do you feeling the building?
What was noticeable actually was how well they attacked and how much is that fresh perspective, fresh team, Lee Blackett coming in, don't know, but I think you look across that team, they're so mobile, aren't they? Look at that back row. It's so ridiculously mobile across all of those guys. Not so much height in terms of, I suppose, line out capability if you're going to have somebody in the back row if Cunningham South's injured, but actually the ability to move the ball is pretty incredible. And then obviously you've got those outside backs where you could pick any of those guys who would do an unbelievable job. So I think it's exciting actually. I think it's really playing into what Lee Blackett brings to that squad.
Yeah, I think that's the key, right? I think it's exciting if they play in a manner which is excitable, right? It gets us off our feet a little bit. I'm not saying to be ridiculous to throw the ball around, but when you've got that much firepower not considered for selection and you've got that much firepower in the back three, you just want to see them, not expand, but just play a little bit more courageous, really, just to have a go. And I think, and then they did that in Argentina with Lee coming in. I think it lends itself to the capability of maybe sort of pushing a little bit more aggressively in attack.
Yeah. Which leads us on to the hot topic this week. When you hear the words England fly half debate, does that bring back the trauma of yesteryear? Do you know what I mean? You've taken a big deep breath.
Yeah, it's always so difficult, isn't it? Because as we did, and myself and Johnny when I was coming through, like we all bring different things to the team.
Yeah.
And so George, Finn, Marcus, they're all really different players. And so to say whether one's better than the other, I suppose it depends on the game plan and what they want to go with. I suppose I have my preferences of who I'd pick, but
do you want to lay that out now? Pick a starter and a bench player for the first game, Australia in 2 weeks' time.
I'd still go with Finn. I think
to start at 10.
Yeah, I've still been toying with who sits on the bench.
Right.
But Marcus covers more than one option, so I think I'd stick him on there. I like George, but I just think these guys, Finn and Marcus, are the future of what we have. Obviously, Finn was away with the Lions in the summer and obviously didn't have that much opportunity playing with the Lions. And I know George went to Argentina and did very well, but actually, Finn was the one that was in charge of that shirt. And in theory, should still be in charge of the shirt because he's gone on the Lions tour, for God's sake. I know he didn't play that much, but so I think he's still the man that should lead that team around. But yeah, it's fascinating how it goes. I don't know. What do you reckon?
I'm not massively going to disagree. I'm a huge fan of Finn Smith, even though he's half Scottish. I don't mind him.
Let's leave that complication out of this debate for now.
I bumped into his mum and dad when he played his first cap in Italy, randomly, just coming through intersection. We had a brief chat, and they are the loveliest people. So I was only joking, but you could just see how proud they were, right? Even though he's half Scottish. But the point being is, I think that to sort of double down on Charlie's point is, if I was a Finn and Marcus on a Lions tour, at the outset, you'd be sniffing around that. I'm going to push someone here. Like, he's pretty good, Russell. He's okay. But I've got to push someone. There's a chance for me to get on the bench here, etc., etc. And I think what happened to them when they're out there, it's been quite a bit hard because ultimately they've gone out there and they brought Owen out. And I totally understand why you bring Owen out. You've got a tour to win. You need to win it, and you're going to bring someone that's tried and tested, right? Because ultimately, we're not quite sure how Finn and Marcus are going to deal in that environment. Ultimately, you could argue they'd be great because ultimately they are great rugby players. So I think it was unfair on them in the sense that they weren't allowed that opportunity to go, to your point about the future, to go and experience that, come back with lots more ideas from the Lions store and had that experience. And then the irony is that England have not picked Owen because they kind of want to go with this next young group of players. And actually it's sort of put them on the back foot, and suddenly everyone's going, well, George Ford played really well, but I want a Lions trip. Yeah? And so it's this weird, almost like paradox of being ahead of George, being selected ahead of George, going on a Lions trip, and then suddenly now coming back being behind George.
Yeah.
So I think this is sort of this perverse situation they found, and I understand the reason to take Owen out. He is an exceptional player and knows what he's doing, and the same with Marcus and Finn. I would still, to Charlie's point, think Finn has the edge. George is a phenomenal player. I think he's probably the best 10 in terms of natural ability we've seen in the last sort of 10 years in fly off. I really enjoy him, watching him play. Unbelievably bright. There will become a time where we're probably talking about Owen Farrell and George Ford coaching against each other in different teams. They're that bright, they're that fantastic. But I do think Finn probably does, and everything I hear about him in terms of how he deals with himself, how he manages himself, etc., is really important. Marcus, I can see an argument to put him in at 15 as well. You have that flexibility with him. But then that means, does George go from being theoretical number one, having come back from Argentina, to then not being in the squad because actually we've got 2 10s on the field? We don't. So it's really complex. I still would go with Finn, to your point. Yeah. I haven't really answered the question.
It's weird that I'm actually going to talk about defence, actually, because it's I was definitely abused for a lot of mine, but only looking at...
Do you think that was harsh?
Sometimes it was.
Yeah.
Sometimes it was. Sometimes it was a system that you're playing and becomes quite hard. Look, I'm not making excuses, and I don't want to talk about that. It's not about me, definitely.
But I think it's very interesting, and I think the reason this show is very interesting is that you have both been in exactly this environment, and you have got, I don't like to use the expression, a lived experience, but actually you have got great understanding of what it is like to try and, to be given that 10 shirt and to try and control the hype, the emotion, the national expectation, the keys to a journey to a Rugby World Cup, which I think is very relevant to what is unfolding here. But anyway, sorry, you go back to, you're going to talk defence. I'm just interested in your experiences.
Only because of having watched the game when Sarri smashed Sale at the weekend.
Yeah.
George missed a number of tackles in that game. And it's not for me to sit here and go, well, you should have done this and you should have done that. But if you're talking about somebody who's genuinely going to be your starter, it's not just about whether he leads a team around the field or not. It's actually whether defensively, whether he genuinely is in a strong position. I genuinely think the other 2 guys are probably stronger in that area.
Right. It's really interesting you say how complex this is. Is this actually a problem for Steve Borthwick? Or do you think in his mind he knows exactly what he's trying to do? Or do you think he's got cards on the table and a bit like us, he's saying, well, defence here is 8 out of 10, but passing game is 7 out of 10. Is he playing top trumps, or is he very clear, do you think, at this point?
Yeah, you hope he's not doing an Alma on the sideline, like moving things around, right? But knowing Steve, I'm not sure he would be. I think to Charlie's point, it's he's got to commit to somebody and give them time, right? We talked about Finn's had 4 starts at fly half, and the best I think 10s play in an environment is when they're not guaranteed a place, but there's just that you've got it, you're okay, you're in charge, and then you're allowed to go and create and build from there. And I think George has had that in his career. I think Owen's had that in his career. I think it feels potentially that Finn is probably in lead of that and has that at this moment in time. And I think as a coach, you just need to be really decisive and say, this is my guy. And then what you can't do after 2 games is go, actually, no, this is now Marcus Smith or it's George Ford. I think you've got to give them that time. If you believe in them, they're going to get you to the end goal of what is obviously, hopefully, being a championship for England.
Do you remember a point in your career where you went from jostling for the shirt to feeling like you owned the shirt, and the difference that gave you as a player?
Yeah, I think so. I think it was sort of went from 2010 Six Nations back end. I came and played in a couple of games. Went and took France quite close to stop them winning a Grand Slam, and then went toward Australia, and then came back for the autumn and then the Six Nations, and felt that I was pretty strong then, and we went and won the championship. And then I actually played quite poorly in the warm-up games, and then it became myself and Johnny again, that conversation again, and I was like, hold on a minute, I thought I was all right here. And then, I'm rightly so, but I wasn't playing terribly well. And as a World Cup looms, a bit like the Owen Farrell, let's bring him on a Lions trip. Let's go back to what we really know. And Johnny, was a phenomenal player, but he's going to kick goals and manage the game really well. And in tight games, which you have in World Cup, you want to probably sit with him. And was I more probably risky because I didn't have that, that sort of history about me, right? Or that sort of success story. So I think that's when I felt really comfortable. Sort of 2010 to sort of end of 12, I felt very, very comfortable in that shirt. And then obviously, things ebb and flow a little bit. But I don't think you ever feel really, truly comfortable. I just think you feel like you're playing quite well and you're able to manage a team for 2 or 3 years. And that sort of allows you then to sort of settle a bit and go put your own mark on the team.
Do you think if you'd ever been given the opportunity, Charlie, to really own the shirt, it would have been a very different story?
There's definitely that feeling of safety. I think that any player would say if they feel safe within the team, within the environment, they can go off and release what they need to. I think there's also an element of combination and the people that you're playing with.
Yeah,
I certainly remember going through stages where I played with a different scrum half and a different centre partnership, and so to be able to build that understanding, I think, particularly in international rugby when you're only coming together for short periods of time, that's really difficult to create that. And so if we're going back to this conversation around fly halves, actually then you look at, on the face of it, Finn plays with Alex Mitchell all the time. So actually those two really fit well together, so used to playing with each other. And that in itself is a strength, regardless of actually whether somebody's playing slightly better or not. Actually, the mere fact that they have this combination that they're doing every single day at training at the moment for their clubs makes a big difference.
Do you think the Mitchell, who is the shoe-in at 9 at the moment, feeds into the decision at 10? Yeah,
I think it does. And I think, I had Ben Youngs, right, who I could go from Leicester to England, and, I made him look good. He only got a few caps.
Did all right.
Average. I think the thing is, it's that, when with something like that, instinctively when he takes off, you know what to do because you've done it every single day for 2 or 3 years. And so I think you're right. That does lend itself to that partnership and creating that relationship. I think they talk about it quite a lot in football in terms of back four, back centre backs and stuff. That relationship, knowing what people are going to do, is so important in high end sport, and the triggers they give off. And I think you're dead right. I think that Alex Mitchell side of things, even though Ben Spencer's playing very well, you'd think he'd be the shoe in to start, and that then lends itself to Finn.
Can I ask you both about Owen Farrell? At the moment, is his shadow in the right place, as it were, outside the squad? Johnny Sexton went to a World Cup at 36. We've seen what the Lions have done, which is bring him in for that security element. Do you think that is his role now? Or do you think if he starts ripping up the Premiership, they're not going badly, Saracens, then he forces his way back in at 10, at 12?
Well, I suppose if you ask Owen, he's never going to give up that dream of playing for England.
No.
And if he goes into the England squad, he's not there just to make up the numbers and just to be an extra and to help and support and be that leadership role. He can do that, but he's not that sort of personality and character to lie down.
So do you think he will enter the fray, so to speak? I've got sort of WWE visions that's sort of coming in from Corner Stadium with a belt around his shoulder. But do you know what I mean? It's that sort of... I think if he keeps doing it, does he force his way back in?
I think the way the balance is working at Sarries with Fergus Burke playing at 10, it allows Owen a little bit more freedom at 12. He's probably going to be playing there a lot more this year, and then he's battling against the Ollie Lawrences of the world and Max Ajomo, who are both...
And Fraser Dingwall, if you're looking at the Northampton 9-10.
They are, then you're looking at some really good combinations there. So he's also got a big battle in his hand to get back in the squad.
Yeah,
like it's not just because he's Owen he has this leadership capability that he gets back in. And as I say, he's not the sort of person that would lie down and just go, I'm only here just to make up the numbers.
There was a lot of noise around dynamic when he joined the Lions. Is that a thing? Do you know what I mean? About the fact that he came in at the expense of young guys trying to find their way type thing. Is that a factor? Is that just noise that the outside media make a lot of song and dance about?
I think people like to make the noise that Owen somehow is this negative influence on people, or I don't know. Some people really, really love Owen. Some people have this sort of question mark over him. But what Owen brings to a squad is like unbelievable competitiveness and drive and determination and all of those things, and obviously experience and all those things that you can bring into a Lions tour that will make that team fly. I really don't think that he's a sort of person that he'll come in and create problems. He's not. He's not that sort of person.
Yeah,
he genuinely wants the team to do well.
Yeah,
right.
So the outside noise is wrong.
Crazy, really. Yeah.
I'd agree. 100%. I think when my dealings with him 2-3 years in England, if not a little bit more, it was just an unbelievably competitive player, right? You knew where you stood with him, but also as an individual, the impact on you was like, oh, man, this, well, like, Johnny sort of set the bar when we were coming up, right, in terms of like the extras he would do, all that sort of stuff, and no one sort of set the environment. You had to be on top of your game to get anywhere near it, and I think that's, I can see that's what the argument say. It's a bit of an odd one where he got taken out. I totally understand the rationale behind it, but it's in terms of, it doesn't matter for Ireland or Wales or Scotland that Owen got taken out. He's part of Lionship and he comes back home. But for England, everyone kind of goes, "Oh, actually, what does that mean now?" Because he's usurped 2 players. In fact, he's usurped 3 really, because he's ahead of George because he didn't go on the tour. He's usurped, they're both the Smiths, and suddenly everyone kind of goes, "Oh, why is he not the squad?" So it just creates this sort of.
Just remember, it's a short-term thing as well.
Well, exactly that.
You need to win the Lions tour in that moment and then walk away. You've got 4 years to
exactly that. Exactly.
This is the England stuff is very different. It's the long-term.
It's interesting what you're saying about Owen, though. So Steve Borthwick, Owen has gone out quite publicly and said a number of times that for right now, it's just to get back to playing rugby in England, enjoying his rugby after a difficult year injury-wise last season. We're only a handful of games into this season, so I don't think that's the discussion, his selection for right now. Sounds like the door is still very much open, though. Now, it is time to tell you about Remy Martin VSOP, the official cognac partner of the Good, the Bad and the Rugby. And Remy Martin have also teamed up with the Barbarians to become their official cognac partner. Ahead of their clash with the All Blacks 15 on November the 1st. Hask, the Lord and myself are going to be hosting a live show at Middle 8 in Covent Garden. That's on Tuesday the 28th of October. We've got Pat Lamb, the Barbars head coach, joining us, along with a star player or two. And our good friends at Remy Martin will be supplying the cocktails. You can find all of the details on how to purchase tickets in the episode description box. Like Remy Martin, the Barbarians are all about tradition, skill and coming together to create something truly special. Please do enjoy responsibly. Can I move it on to just a couple of other factors and where you think they sit in determining who will wear 10? Current club form. Northampton trucking along quite well. Sale have had their moments, but then get hammered by Saracens, and Quins have not had a great start to the season. Marcus Smith's only played twice, but the most recent was a 38-0 loss to Exeter, after which Jason Gilmore, the Quins league coach, said Marcus didn't strike the ball that great. How he played last week to this, opposite ends of the spectrum. He'll be disappointed. I know that. It wasn't a good day at the office. Read into that what you will. Current club form into deciding who starts at 10 in the autumn. How big a feature is that?
I think it's really important. I think you want to see all your players playing well, obviously, but especially at fly half, you just want to see them take control. I think to your point earlier, George did that for the first couple of weeks. Okay, there's been, let's call it an outlier this week, and he comes back next week and suddenly we're having that slightly different conversation because we've all got short memories. But I think Northampton look fairly strong, fit into that dynamic really well, controls the game, young, youthful team that plays a lot of rugby and tries to bend the ball. Sam Vesti is, from what I hear, well, I've known him as a player, he's an exceptional coach, and I think that then lends itself to they're going to play a type of rugby that hopefully Lee Blackett follows too. I think Marcus has been in a Quins team that's been up and down, right? They've just can't find any form, can turn Saracens over, who go and beat Sale by 50, but the next week go to Downs Exeter and it almost looked like they didn't really want to be there. We've all been there. Exeter on a wet, windy day. It's
not an easy place to go.
It's not an easy place to go. But I think at that point, there's no team. You would argue again, going back to Finn, he's just a little bit higher than everybody else in the team that seems to be performing the best of the lot. But it's not easy.
But if you're trying to give a guy consistency, which by the sound of it is what you're both asking for, do you have to allow them 1-2 bad weeks where the club game just sort of isn't anything like what you'd expect from them in an international jersey?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, look, you're going to have those moments where performance isn't where you want it to be from a team perspective and also individually. And as we know, as a fly half, some of what you do can be dictated to by whether you're over the gain line or not. What's the pack doing in front of you? How's your set piece functioning? What does the defence look like? So, like, there are lots more things at play, determining whether the fly halves play well or not. And so maybe the last couple of weeks, certainly for George and for Marcus, are blips, and they will move on relatively quickly.
The other thing is what you do in an England jersey when you're given the chance. Stats can paint a pretty picture. They can also hide a multitude of sins. But if you look at the number of times the four that we're discussing have started at 10 under Steve Borthwick, Owen Farrell, 6 wins in 8, George Ford 9 wins in 13, Finn Smith 4 wins in 4, Marcus Smith 2 wins in 11, both of which were against Japan. But actually, in some of those games, he played incredibly well. A lot of that was the tail end of last year and before that, when I don't think the team was necessarily firing, but he was doing all he could. How much does that play into? I mean, you probably know what Owen's going to give you, and George too. Is it time to give Finn Smith, by the sound of it, you're saying it anyway, a proper run at this to show what he can do over not just 4, but maybe 10, 15 games type thing? And how much does Marcus's 2 wins in 11 damage his long-term 10 chances?
Yeah, I think Marcus is not unlucky, but I think you're a team that coughed up a few results. So you think about Australia at home, all that stuff. They would had just taken the lead again, so they lost a few. And I think there's that he was sort of that like a focus point of a team that sort of was finding ways to lose rather than actually to sort of settle down. And I'd argue
that feels a bit like the Quins way as well, though, doesn't it? It's like he's part of an environment that is up and down.
Yeah, but again, you can't. We all kind of when Borthwick came back and stuff. Everyone, it was tough, right? For the first, you were sort of answering questions around, is he going to survive because he's losing games? So now we're kind of sitting here thinking, well, actually, to your point, they're looking all right now. They had a not bad end to the Six Nations, and they went to a tour in Argentina and they dominated. And suddenly, in a bit like your question around giving 10 a bit of time, if a Finn Smith gets another get a few games and they have a nice autumn and they pick up 3 results out of 4, and they've got a chance of doing, all right, it's tough, but All Blacks haven't been All Blacky kind of self for a while, right? They haven't just found ways to win. All Black, exactly, to verb it. Australia again looked fantastic, good, strong against the Lions back end, went and did some damage, beat South Africa, but then suddenly you've lost a bit of form. You could look at it thinking, well, Finn could start 8 from 8 here and look really strong. So there is an argument to give someone time and space, and I do think almost, I suppose, you look at an international season, it's almost 10 games, right? You get 5, so you get 4, then you get 5, then you got the tour at the back end. And if you get that sort of 10 game run, 10, 11, 12 game run, suddenly you, as a fly half, especially, or in any role, but especially in a fly half, you sort of feel like you're starting to have, as long as there's continuity of selection around you, that you're starting to sort of understand the triggers and key moments of players around you, which is hugely important.
What would you expect from England with Finn Smith at 10? And that obviously has Lee Blackett above it as well. But would you see the way that they attacked in Argentina in the summer looked fantastic? Would you expect that style again to build on that and to go further?
I don't see any reason why not.
Yeah. So Finn Smith can do what George Ford does.
Yeah, definitely. I think he has, in terms of his game management, probably a little bit to learn in terms of kicking the ball around the field. But actually, his speed of thought, his sort of catch passing around the contact area, his ability to bring other people into play, putting people through gaps, I think that's really good, and that's a really strong point of Finn's. And actually, to sort of bring in what they did over the summer and kind of be let loose in that structure, I think it's only a good thing.
What concerns do you have, given what you went through, for this equation right now? What would be the do's and the don'ts for the guys involved? What would you pass on, and perhaps to the coaches as well?
I think I've said it already. I'm a big believer in continuity of selection and making sure that it's almost allowing people an opportunity and a chance to just embed themselves in the shirt, and because you get very limited time internationally for that to work, to play players together who are used to playing with each other. So like Alex Mitchell and Finn together, even Fraser Dingwall at 12. I think that's a really nice combination, and all 3 of those guys will really complement the team. Yes, and I think you look at the teams who've been successful internationally, they tend to be the teams that have been together for such a long period of time.
Yep.
Right. England in 2003, the All Blacks obviously through their golden period. South Africa now, I mean, they've got an abundance of players, but you still see the same players that are playing majority of the time as a core group. And I think the more this team stays together, this squad stays together, the stronger they will be. What
we have now as this fly half debate, I'm 45. We've had 3 or 4 of these in the time that I've been following English rugby. It was Andrew Barnes, as we said at the top. It's been ever since. It's just whether English rugby is sort of learning its lessons, or whether we're just going round and round and round. Rugby has a habit of doing that, doesn't it? I mean, do you think what you see here is going to enable these 4 players to continue to think they've got a shot at the shirt that they want, or is history going to repeat itself?
Well, I think it does. I think you look at the French 9 situation, right? I think there's an affiliation with the fly half in the UK. I think that's the one everyone kind of looks to, and that probably was definitely before Andrew and Barnes, but then with Johnny and then like Charlie and Owen, it's been that sort of talking point for as long as I can remember as well. And I think the same with the French 9. They chopped and changed all the time in the sort of late 90s, early, and there had to be someone just so much better than anyone else to sort of to have it all ignored. I think as a fly half and as a 9, especially in French rugby, because it's all driven through them, every touch point is magnified. I think you look at mistakes that props make and mistakes that second rows make, they're just not as highlighted because it seems to have not as big an impact in the game, right? If a second row drops the ball, it's like, second row. If a fly half drops the ball off the back of a line out, off your 9, I mean, that's just the end of the game, right? Now, that's so obvious. I always remember remember Alan getting his first cap in 06 and getting shoved off by Dan Carter. And again, he always not done that to. And he ended up with 2 caps. I turned up the week after through an interception pass. It could have happened to me, sort of thing. But those mistakes are so much bigger when you're a fly half or a 9 in French rugby, and that's why it becomes such a big talking point. And also I think that's where fly halves often feel pressure a lot more, because that you are just under the gaze of everyone all the time, because you're seen to be the key cog of the
Johnny's fault. That's what it is.
I agree.
Blame Johnny, right? Because if he wasn't so good,
this is it. I think you're right. Exactly. I mean, he did right.
Have you got that tattooed somewhere, by the way? Just blame Johnny. It's fascinating though, and what's so interesting for both of you is, the experiences that you've had. If you saw Johnny now, genuinely, would you be like, "How are you, bud? Nice to see you"? Or would you? Yeah,
definitely. Like I am so aware that we were different players, right? And we brought really different things to the team. And I will never ever claim to be as good defensively as Johnny was. And I think my point of difference was the way I attacked and the way I released other people into the game and my passing ability and range and stuff, which I think was different to Johnny. So actually I look at it and go, well, he was great. Like, he was brilliant and he did everything really, really well. But I offered something different, and I wasn't selected because of the things that I perhaps couldn't do.
Yeah,
and then I think it becomes a wider, slightly interesting or nuanced conversation around the idea that, well, Johnny fit the DNA of that 2003 team or 99, but did he? Or as in, what I mean by that is they were just a team that beat everyone up and were so physical, didn't play much rugby in inverted commas, but just battered teams. Obviously, when they broke teams down, they did, and they looked quite fluent. But I also argue, well, was that Johnny's DNA all over that team because he was an exceptional goal kicker and he was going to kick at 85%, so he wants to play in a certain manner? Or was it he buying into that team and how they played, right? And sort of knowing Johnny from the Newcastle days, he could play. Look, Charlie, probably the best pass I've ever seen. But I think on the back of that, it's that sort of weird thing: is it time and place? Do you need a sort of fly half to fit the mould, or do you need a fly half that you can orchestrate and over 12, 14 months can build a team around him?
I suppose the game is cyclical as well. It goes through stages, isn't it? Defence will always win you competitions and win your leagues and all that sort of stuff. But there's a huge focus on attack now, isn't there?
Do you think you'd have had a better career now? This is the question I was going to ask.
Probably not. No,
come on. But do you think now? And I'm looking sort of Prem potentially. I don't know what the numbers are, but I imagine the average points per game is going up and up and up. You contrast that with a World Cup final 2 years ago that was 12-11 and an absolute, it's like a heavyweight boxing match. But so I don't actually know whether the game is more attack orientated now.
They're also different games, aren't they?
Yes.
League and Europe and into international rugby.
For sure.
They're all very different
Would
games.
you like to be playing now, though, the way that you played? Do you watch it now and do you see things out there and think, God, I'd have an absolute field day? Or do you think...
No, I think the game is getting harder.
Right.
Like it just looks like it gets more physical. There's less space.
Yeah.
And I think the guys are becoming even more skillful than they ever were. Like, you're asking, when we were playing, or certainly when I was playing, you get the Matt Stevens of the world who could be a little bit of a ball player around that sort of three-man pod of the forwards. Now you've got everybody doing it.
Yeah.
Now they're making really good decisions. Alex Genge makes really good decisions on the ball. And they can all do it, but they can all smack into somebody and get over the gain line as well. So it's just, the level just keeps going up.
Yeah.
And that for me is, I'm sort of, I don't look at it and go, I do really well in this. I enjoy watching it. And as I said, I've had my time.
Here's a moment.
Yeah.
Are you both happy then with Alex Mitchell at 9?
Yeah.
Finn Smith at 10?
Yeah.
Who are you going to be your centre combinations? Fraser Dingwall, probably the man in come up, certainly from Cardiff, where he went to town, didn't they?
Yeah, he played
Seb
very well.
Atkinson out in Argentina, but obviously not in the squad.
That was the bit where, could Owen come in and replace Seb, right? That was the sort of conversation, I suppose, around it. You'd think it'd be Dingwall. I'm a huge fan of Henry Slade. I think he's a fantastic rugby player. I think he's got a lot of time on the ball, but has he played enough? Has he has he played enough? What I mean is that
he's got back, hasn't he?
Yeah, exactly. And then with the same question mark goes about Ollie Lawrence, but you're gonna have to pick.
You're gonna have to pick
one of them, or unless you slide Freeman up and in, and then that becomes so I think that's probably one of the.
Do you slide Freeman up and in, and then you go Northampton 9, 10, 12, 13?
Yeah, I mean, you could, and there's some relationships there, right? And I don't know. I think it's a terrible answer, but I think Henry Arundel's looked sensational since he's come back. I think he's.
Do you think he's a better player post Racing?
Don't know. It's a good question. I think would he be? I think he probably enjoyed the experience. I think he probably learned a lot from Reg Rugby. I think some of the offloads I saw him do a couple of weeks ago, where he just throws the ball back in. I think maybe he wouldn't have done that before he's gone, because there is that sort of, don't run to touch sort of mentality in France and keep the ball alive. So potentially, Farrell Boso as well. He's looked incredible.
He's looked sharp.
I mean,
he's looked sharp.
And then then is the question. Actually, are you building from the back? Are you going
Who's 15 though? This is the question.
No Furbank.
Yeah.
No Furbank. Do you go Freddie Stewart?
I mean, you hate to say it, but I don't think he is. But they might put Marcus at 15.
And then that
becomes another threat.
I think the conversation almost ironically starts at 15 and go, who you put there has an impact on who you put on the edge, and then where you're centred.
You could put Tommy Freeman at 15. He's been playing well there for Northampton.
Yeah.
Maybe he plays 13 and 15. He's that good.
I think
you're asking a lot of questions. You're doing a lot of asking the questions.
Yeah.
What you really want to do is some answers.
There's no getting away from the fact that you need to be good in the air nowadays.
Yeah.
Right. Because you can't. What these lines that people are running for, we get penalised for them now.
Blocking
lines. You can't get away with that. So you've got to have people who can generally get in the air and compete.
So name it then. 15. Work back from 15. Smith, Stewart, or Freeman?
I would love to see Freeman at 15.
Okay.
I'd like to then have Farrell Boso and Arundel on the wings.
Okay. And then your centres are Dingwall at 12?
Dingwall.
And Lawrence or Slade or Jermo?
See, I'm only.
Who'd be a chairman of select?
Yeah, I know. And it might be a bit left field because he's new. But Max Ajomo, I think he's done really well for Bath.
Yep.
The issue.
Played 10 for them. We should throw him into the original 10.
I know. The issue is inexperience.
It's Australia up first as well.
Who
will test you?
Yeah.
I always, Dingwall gives you. I always like classically, want a second ball player somewhere. You need one. When I played, it was either Geordie Murphy coming up from 15 at Leicester, or Mike Catt, or whoever when you play for England. I think you need that. So after that, then you need to find some size. Harry Arundel can carry, Boso can carry, so that gives you a little bit of stuff off the edge. But you probably still need a big centre in there, and and Ajomo can carry. He's not bad, but it's just at that to your point, the experience level. Is he there? But there's only one way to find out. You've got to put them in and find out. So I'd argue, I think Lawrence has looked very strong. So I think the way that Steve plays, he's going to find hard to look past Lawrence.
Yeah.
So I could see Dingwall, Lawrence, Arundel, Boso, and
Tommy Freeman.
You going Freddie?
You're going Freddie.
I was close to going Freddie, but I forgot about Freeman. Who's definitely in my team. So I mean, I don't know. So I don't know. Yeah, maybe Freeman.
Not easy, is it?
It's not easy, is it?
Thoughts with you, Steve?
In terms of if Lee Blackett has his way, I think he might take Freeman and put him in there at 15.
The other guys, I just think in comparison, in terms of their attacking ability, without being harsh on Freddie Stewart, they're all better than him when it comes to attack.
But you've just said you need aerial skills.
Yeah,
international rugby, right?
I know, and that's why Tommy Freeman's there.
Okay, good. Right, okay.
Yeah.
A guy I know, Adam Radwan, he's been phenomenal since he's joined Leicester. He's been brilliant. Forced his way back into that England team. It's a real credit to himself, and he's someone who can break the game apart massively.
Yeah.
But then you look at what he's against, and it's almost unfair, right? Because you just look at that team and go, well, actually, Arundel's been sensational. Wobosa's been incredible. Freeman's knocking around. Murley's been strong, and Roebuck is the sort of incumbent. I don't know is the answer. I mean, it's terrible, right?
Yeah.
What do you think?
Brilliant.
Can Robot Cup
I'm just here to ask the questions,
Yeah.
thankfully. We're going to take a quick break to tell you about Tindall Rice, the UK's #1 rice brand, Hask.
Yes, we are, Alex. Cooking rice used to be such a faff. Sometimes I'd cook too much, and sometimes I'd make it all goopy and get it stuck to the bottom of the pan. But honestly, Tilda has changed everything.
Are you going to add chef to the list of jobs that you now find yourself doing since you finished rugby?
What, international DJ, best-selling author, guilty, a comedian, you're welcome, Michelin-starred chef, has a ring to it.
God help us if that's the case.
I know you have staff at home, Payno, to take care of your every whim, but even you can't mess up their ready-to-heat pouches. 2 minutes in the microwave, or you can use their boil in the bag and have a dinner sorted in 10 minutes.
That is Tre Rapido, and that works for me. There's plenty of options, obviously. What have we got for you? We've got basmati, coconut, sticky rice, Chinese special fried rice, amongst all the options.
You know, there are over 25 pre-steamed rice pouches to choose from. Can I tell you who gives the biggest and best ringing endorsement of Tilda rice pouches? It's my daughter, Bodhi.
Oh, really?
She loves them. That's how I get to eat vegetables. She absolutely loves the kids' pouches. But to be honest with you, as she is old beyond her years, both her and I share rice. We love the coconut, we love the vegetable rice, so she absolutely smashes it. And also, I'm very reassured because they're all tasty, all clean, no dodgy flavours or preservatives.
Good daddy-daughter daycare bonding over Tilda Rice. So whether it's a midweek quick fix or something to accompany an epic curry night, Tilda makes it easy to elevate your plate. Can I just take the fly half debate that we've had, Ford, Finn Smith, Marcus Smith, and potentially Owen Farrell, and just compare that with South Africa, New Zealand, France and Ireland? Box have got Pollard, Feinberg, Ngomazulu and Libbok. New Zealand have got Bowden Barrett, Damien McKenzie, Richie Mwanga when he's back. France have got Ntamak Jalibert and Ramos as a 10 option, and Ireland have got Crowley, Prendergast, Frawley. Where is England's strength in depth relative to those other four, and which of those have got the biggest challenge relative to the debate we've just had? Who goes where, and how do you build the team out from that?
I don't think France have a debate. I think it's Ntamak.
Yeah.
Ramos will play 15 if he plays 15. I think he's better than Jalibert. And that's kind of been the cadence they've had anyway. I think he's a fantastic player. He's suffered with injuries, etc., and he hasn't played a huge amount. But I think France are pretty, going back to your point, Dupont, when he comes back, they both play at Toulouse.
Yeah.
There's that relationship. I think that's a given.
So France is settled.
France is fairly settled, I'd say.
Ireland is Crowley, Prendergast and Frawley.
I think they have the same problem. And actually, I think they've got a harder problem because they've got two boys that are very, it's nip and tuck, and there is no sort of outlier of George Ford, which I know complicates matters a little bit, but I think they've got exactly the same problem that England have, is they've got to give one a go, and they haven't, and no one's
They
quite
gave
sure.
Prendergast a big go, didn't they?
Yeah. But then they didn't. But they didn't take him on the Lions.
Yeah.
So then that conversation comes back as he comes back together.
Crowley.
He's had a tough start as well, Prendergast,
Yeah.
this season. Crowley's
Crowley
gone
played
very well
well.
for months
Yeah, he
now.
has, exactly.
Mwanga's going to complicate things for the All Blacks? Or are they so comfortable swapping the shirt and the person and the team around it that it doesn't matter quite so much? If you take out Barrett and put in McKenzie, does that change New Zealand fundamentally? Or does the machine roll on?
I think Barrett can kind of slot in anywhere. I think that machine just functions well.
So Mwanga coming back in sort of
I think
does more of the same. Or does he elevate them?
I don't know whether Barrett's actually a 10. I think he's better suited a bit wider. So I think it becomes then a fight between McKenzie and Mwanga.
Pollard, Feinberg, Ngomazulu and Libbok. Arnie Libbok. Ngomazulu's got something quite special.
I mean, they've just got talent.
So do you give him the keys now for the box, even though Pollard's won you two?
Yeah, I think Pollard, is.
It's a bit like the George Ford thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
He's kind of been there and done it. But is it time to now let him have a go at it? I think you probably do. I think South Africa now have such strength and depth that they could almost. You'd argue he is creating an environment in which people are so comfortable to turn up and play in any manner he decides that weekend. I think he's got. Yes, they're going to beat you up, but they've got such an array of talent that they can slightly change their sort of their mantra a little bit, and that's the terrifying thing about them. They're fairly daunting. Fortunately, I think England don't have to play them this autumn, which is actually not a bad thing.
You can run, but you can't hide.
Well, true, but you can hide for a couple of months.
Tens you played against that you thought this is as good as they get.
Dan Carter's one and Carlos Spencer's another.
Yeah.
Like those guys, I'll be sometimes playing games going, how are they doing this? This is ridiculous. People that just looked to have so much time on the ball.
Yeah.
And just had this air of confidence, arrogance. I don't know what it was, but yeah, I mean, sit back and applaud it, even though I'm playing against them sometimes.
King Carlos, you?
Yeah, I remember. It's hard to look past, in terms of Carter, right? And I think to your point, it was like you touched on it before about the sort of skill set. It was like that New Zealand skill set. They had everything, Marnonu. And then remember when Sonny Bill Williams got picked for his first game against us in 10, I think. I remember getting the sort of the manager. We expected Conrad Smith and Nonu. And it changed to Nonu and Sonny Bill, which is not too hard.
Yeah.
It'd be all right. Physically easy. And we went and watched these. And then Mike Ford brought us down after team run. They've selected this on Thursday. Whenever we came in, he was like, right, lads, watch this. So we put up the video of Sonny Bill Williams just throwing, like getting hit, getting smashed, and the ball just popping out left, right, and centre. And then, just all these ridiculous offloads, which was remarkable. And when we sort of paused, right, so lads, how do we stop that? What's the fucking chance?
You're the defence coach. Give us a clue. Yeah.
Exactly. And I remember actually genuinely, I think it was Tids in the centre as well that day. And remember I made a tackle on him. And genuinely, it's still up there as one of the proudest moments of my career. You'd obviously offloaded it, but it's just like, I did something. Do you know what I mean? I stopped Sonny Williams. But I think that's it. I think when you're surrounded by everyone, I remember again playing Dan Carter in a game in 08, I think, and at home, and he had Mills Muliani behind his shift, and I could hear him looking at me just saying, whatever they're called was biscuit or whatever, right? And I knew what it meant. And I knew Dan was going to run there and he was going to leave it on the inside and I was dead. Nothing I could do about it. But when you were just like, you felt like sort of verbally and physically abused on the pitch because you realised how good they were and there was no way you could stop it. I think that's it. When you get a 10 in an environment that is functioning so smoothly and is surrounded by very clever players, that's when you are, you're saying. And it's hard to look past Carter.
Who did you learn most from?
In terms of
how to play the game?
Formative years, like Matt Burke and Johnny Wilkinson, really important for me. Like Johnny did the sort of nuts and bolts stuff really well. Matt talked about the sort of whole holistic side of things, and I was very lucky to grow up with him. Perceived to be, and rightly so, the best player in the world at the time. And he worked really hard. And I saw as a 19-year-old, and obviously you were talking about this in terms of what you're doing now about looking after kids and helping that the progression. It was like, why is he working so hard? He's the best player in the world. And then suddenly it
dawns on you.
That'll be why. And then so he was hugely important in my career. And likes of Mike Cat too were really good and just sort of calming you down, making you understand that X, Y, and Z all functions. All that. And he carried me through my first cap my first start against France. So those sort of people, right? The people I think mean a lot to you are the ones that just are at those key moments to your career, and that is really important. And the list is endless, really. But ultimately, those sort of players make a big difference.
You,
in terms of game management, game understanding, was Philippe Saint-Andre.
Oh, really?
He
Flying pig.
I mean, obviously, he was a winger as a player, but he got it. He understood the dynamics of the forwards, knew that they had to do their job for everybody else to function.
Yeah.
And we used to just sit and chat about kind of the way the game kind of unfolds, and it was really just a different way of playing. I was from working with Jim Melander and Steve Diamond in my early stages of career at Sale, where we were just encouraged to throw the ball around, which is great. Philippe just brought a sense of control and understanding to my game, which I really appreciated.
Did I see you at the Sale 2006 reunion? Did you go to that?
No, I couldn't make it. I couldn't make it.
He was hammered.
Yeah.
I think he was still celebrating 20 whatever it is years later. 19 years later.
I'm not surprised.
Him and Dean Schofield.
They've been drinking since like 2 PM.
Yeah, they've been drinking since 2017, I think. They came up. We had a sort of 40-minute section to talk to all of the 2006 crew that were there. Yeah, there was about 30 seconds of hello and goodbye either end of Philippe and Dean Schofield having a very good time of it.
How was Sco's French?
Actually, he was all right because Sebastian Chabal was there as well.
Yeah.
I think he'd been out for lunch too. Hell of a team. One that still knows how to celebrate. Right, rugby fans, the autumn internationals are nearly here, and if you can't get yourself to a stadium, we have got the next best thing for you, because O'Neill's pubs are the place to catch every game live. We've got big screens, the perfect pint of Guinness in hand, and the kind of atmosphere that makes you feel like you are right in the heart of it. And speaking of atmosphere, we are back at O'Neill's Wardour Street on Tuesday the 11th of November for a live show. Myself, Haskell and Tins will be there, and if you've been to one of our nights at O'Neill's before, you'll know there's always a story or two, and you definitely won't be hearing those on this podcast. podcast. There are only a few more tickets remaining, so head to Eventbrite to book your spot. O'Neill's has the best rugby atmosphere on the high street. One last topic to get stuck into this week, which was the big news that we said at the top of the show, which is that Tom Willis has signed from Saracens to go back to Bordeaux Begler. Steve Borthwick has dropped him from the England squad. A move that rules, he's dropped him from the England squad because of the move that's now going to rule Tom Willis out of the 2027 World Cup in Australia. How big a blow for England as one Saracen to another? You're quite surprised by that?
He's going to be a big loss, I think. I think one for Sarries, like he's really come into his own in that position.
Yeah.
His ball carrying ability, his physicality, and his ability to offload in and around contact's awesome. Had he not gone, I think he would have been a really sort of shoe-in for this England team as well. I think do you know what? If he felt like he was a genuine part of this England team, he might not have gone.
Right.
So maybe he had question marks of whether he was going to be involved, whether he was going to be a major part of the team, whether he always thought he was going to be on the verge, might play a bit, might not play a bit, whether Steve likes him or not, and maybe he's just gone, do you know what? Probably going to hedge my bets and make a bit of cash in France.
To lose one Willis could be deemed misfortune. I can't remember what the quote is. To lose two would be, I don't know, fill in the blanks, whatever you mean. But we've now got some pretty heavy power Willis artillery off to France. It's not just Sarries who can afford him, because obviously he had an EPS contract as well, which was built, designed and put together to prevent exactly this kind of thing. How big a hole below the waterline is that?
I think the contracts are there to gain more control of the individual and put them towards that sort of central contracting system that rugby RFU's talked about for millennia, feels like. But and they've never got there, but they're as close as they ever have been. But it still doesn't change the individual and their behaviour in terms of what they want to do with their life and where they can go and experience a different game of rugby, right? And I think he knows Bordeaux. He's very comfortable there. He played pretty well, played very well there. I think he's come back and developed his game tremendously at Saracens. I think he's added a huge amount to it. It then just opens up the question for England of, wow, how do they fill that hole? I think Ben Earl's been sensational for England at 8. He went on the Lions tour. There was always question marks about his carrying ability, but actually it looks like he's a big lump and he can get away with it. And there's players coming through too that I think are going to fill those holes. So I can see the rationale. Is he going to be a miss? Of course, but fundamentally those contracts are fantastic, and they keep players under the wraps of England. But when the contract's up, it's like anything in life, right?
Yeah, I just don't get this the CBS contracts at all. Like, why if we're allowing our players to players are going to France, that's fine, but why do we not pick them? Like it's
stop asking questions and give answers.
And now wait
till R360 enters the fray, and then we really have something to talk about.
It's mental. Like to lose both Willis boys.
Yeah, he's just picked up top 14 player of the year.
I know.
Yeah, just
because
you look at the South African model, they've just gone off and gone, do you know what, lads, go and play
wherever you like,
right? Because you can get the best of all these leagues around the world.
Yeah, you
can pick up good things. You're going to make a really good understanding of what else happens elsewhere. Then you can come back into South Africa and go, right, we'll take all the best bits.
Yeah. What have they achieved?
Yeah, exactly.
What have they ever done for World Rugby? The thing, if I was Steve Borthwick, I'd be knocking on the corner office and saying, what I want, let's say 5 wild cards from overseas, because then you potentially take the top 5 off salary caps in the UK. You can bring Jack Willis back if you want to. You don't have to use them all, but you've got the ability to say, actually, Jack Willis is ripping up trees and he's going to benefit. Maybe just do it in a World Cup year. I don't know. But you can see why Prem Rugby don't want it, because suddenly if the Stars start going, they feel the league gets devalued. And
they've got a plan, right? I think you think about it from just an England perspective. But if the continuity every 3 years or so, a new contract comes in and one of your key players disappears for that sort of World Cup period, I can go to France for 3 years. I can come back and I'll get back selected. Then fundamentally, that means the Premiership teams to have that lack of continuity. I mean, I went pre-World Cup in 2015, sat down with Stuart Lancaster in my kitchen, and he said, "Look, you can go. I will bring you back." Right? So I was like, "Okay, well, that's quite good. I'm a cake and eat it too sort of scenario. I can go to Toulouse, enjoy it, and see what happens." Now he said, "I can't pick you for the Six Nations, but what I'll do is I'll bring you back for this sort of camp, but you'll be bottom pecking order. Be in the 55 squad. George will get ahead of you. Owen will get ahead of you. All that sort of stuff." And I was absolutely fine with that. And I think then what reading between the lines, I think the RFU then the Premiership clubs probably turned around and said, you can't do that. If you let him do that, or anyone else do that, more important people like Dylan Hartley do that every so years, then actually everyone's going to kind of go to the market and then come back, and it'll just create a bit of an issue around it. And I think we can still see how the Premiership clubs are suffering in terms of revenue. The big master of that is the RFU, and I think you see the Premiership clubs struggling. They need that continuity of top talent.
Yeah.
With whatever's happened with 360 and all that stuff, they need that continuity of these players are going to be on show every week to at least then drive attendances. Now, I know it's not necessarily hand in hand, but ultimately you want to keep your talent around you to make your team better.
Yeah. Do you know, interesting, I was just looking, so even though he's signed to go to Bordeaux, he still gets his full EPS salary for this year, which I think is about 160 grand. Someone hasn't put a clause in the contract saying if you sign with a French club or overseas during the point of your EPS contract, that will terminate henceforth forthwith.
But then I suppose you'd argue they're paying the amount that they're covering part of the salary that the club are paying.
Yeah.
So ultimately what you're saying is if you sign for France, you don't get any more salary, which would be...
Well, you drop from...
Right, you could argue
340. I don't know. We're getting into
We
numbers.
throw some numbers
don't
around,
understand right now.
It's like 6 mil down to 2.
Yeah, I'm still on work experience. It is interesting though when you talk about that. So you look at the number 8s in France. I'm not sure necessarily all of them would be in Steve Borthwick's squad, but you've now got England number 8s in Billy Vunipola, Sam Simmons, Zach Mercer, Lewis Ludlam, Nathan Hughes, Jack Willis obviously can play there, and Tom Willis is off. When you just look at back row options over there, it's interesting times, isn't it? Do you see an easy solution or not? Or does it just keep, if you go, and that's it, you're done?
They've decided, haven't they? That's the way it works. You decide to leave, you don't get picked.
Do you ever regret to lose?
No, it was really, I absolutely loved it. Amazing place to go and play, and the people and the environment, and you play games there with the stadium is bouncing in firecrackers and everything. Obviously, Husk talk about his experience too. But I sort of went to Toulouse when you could see, talking about sort of players, you could see the Marchands of the world, the Cyril Bays, 18, 19, 20. You were, these guys are going to be good in a couple of years' time. And and I kind of came when Dusatois, Nyanga, Pato, and all that stuff. They were sort of towards the back end, incredible players. Harry Nordekis, all that sort of stuff, and they were brilliant. I loved it. But you could just almost feel that we're still competitive, but we're not quite there yet. And then I remember training for the first time back, like last few months before coming home with Untermack, and I remember being like, "It's a good time to leave. He's all right."
Chômage?
No, you don't get chômage.
You don't get
come
chômage.
back, yeah.
Oh.
But I just remember that bit where you were like, "Okay, this team's going to be all right." And then that year they bought Dupont in as well, who obviously was tearing it.
Whatever happened to him?
He was all right.
Oh.
And so I think you realise that the team was going to be pretty strong. And I was back there not long ago. I went and watched the game, and I went and popped in David Melly, who was at Leicester and Toulouse when I was there as well. We were caught up and stuff in the change room, and I said hello to some of the boys, which was quite nice. But they were just, you could just see they're a big bunch of players.
How's your French?
Superman.
Hey, très bien. Which I think was all that Scoey could do back in the day. Just before we finish, we've obviously gone through it with quite a fine tooth comb, and thank you, because it's been very interesting revisiting your experiences relative to, I think, what is going to become a very hot topic over the next 12, 24 months or so. Are you excited about England in the here and now? If they pick the back line you've asked them to, and given the way they've been playing with the coaches that are coming in, the talent they've got?
I think it's hard not to be, isn't it? I think they've got an unbelievable amount of players at their disposal now, even with the ones that aren't available, to go out and to choose. We said this, it's a bit of a headache for them to select a team there, because they're all playing really well. Give or take a little bit of form here and there, but on the whole, that is a really exciting squad. And then when you add in their willingness to attack and to play like they did in Argentina, I think let's hope, touch wood, it will lead to good things.
Do you echo that? Are you up for quite an exciting autumn for England?
Yeah, I think it's going to be quite strong from the sort of Northern Hemisphere. I think you've got that sort of generational talent. Scotland, Ireland will solve that 10 problem, but they've got an incredible squad. A lot of them went to the Lions tour. France and have been a powerhouse of European rugby for a while. And England feel like they're sort of bubbling up at the right sort of time. Wales less so, but they are. But it's for rugby, you want them back, because they that team they have we used to play was just was incredible. So I think England are sort of find themselves into a time where, if they get it right, it does look really exciting. And to Charlie's point about what's not there is unbelievable. So I just think there's as long as that continuity, as we touched upon, as long as that sort of slight, I guess, development of attack, and they just take a few more risks, I think England could be in a really good place.
Good to hear. A big few weeks of international rugby, obviously, which will be all over. That was the Big England 10 debate. I think we might have one or two of those over the next 24 months or so as we run into the Rugby World Cup, but with 2 top 10s who've worn the jersey. Fascinating stuff. Thank you so much, guys. And as a thank you, careful hands down the line, everyone that comes on.
Don't squeeze it too hard, Charlie.
Gets a little bottle of black eye from us to say thank you very much. You might need a drink after revisiting the glories of yesteryear. That's our gin that we're trying to raise some money for injured rugby players along the way, including actually your old mate Mudos.
Brilliant. That's good to hear.
Pound in the pot for him, and obviously big support coming in as well at the moment. Charlie, lovely to see you. Rugby-buddy.com. Check it out if you've got young kids playing the game. Back on the line bike, back to the office, or are you home for the day?
Back to Octa. So we'll
Is that right?
A little bit more left.
Thank you, chaps. Very nice to see you both. Couple of very quick bits to tell you about. Signed copies of our new book, The Good, the Bad, and the Rugby Reloaded, are now available to pre-order at Waterstones. Would you like a copy of that? Or it's got a burn time of 6 hours if you're running low on logs. Details of how to order on screen and in the episode description box. Thank you as always to Continental Tyres. Continental Tyres are sponsors of the Continental Tyres Schools Cup, driving the next generation from the ground up. We're a folding pocket production. Stats and facts provided by Russ Petty. This episode was produced by Tom Edwards. Have a very good rest of your week. We'll see you next time out. Bye for now.
You've been listening to The Good, Yay, The Bad, and The Rugby, Oof, with Alex Payne, James Haskell, and Mike Tindall. Thanks for listening.